Hi folks, so this is a special from Back into Daylight Animal Sanctuary, and I was looking after one animal this morning, Ruja the cat, and now I'm looking after more than 400, which is quite a responsibility, you've got to admit. In the course of this I'll show you some scenes and the animals as we encounter them. Hi people, how are you? Are you doing well? You've got nice colours, haven't you? Yeah. Oh, look at this chap. Yeah. Just admiring your colours, you're nice, aren't you? I know. And stay away from me, buddy. I thought I'd talk to you about Vegan Information Day, which was yesterday, on Thursday, between 10 in the morning till 6 at night. Hey, Bertie! Bertie's one of the stars of Back into Daylight, aren't you, Bertie? Pot-bellied piggy. And look at that, he's shedding his hair, look. And starting to, the large, these bits are coming out. And then there's bits regrowing, so it's kind of like shedding the skin. Aren't you, Bert? Hey? You don't need a coat in this weather, do you? Hey? No. You tell everybody all about it. Go on. Now normally Bertie would be allowed out for a bit of time, but I'm a little bit too nervous to do that because he's very strong. I'm not quite sure if I could get him back in, to be honest. So looks like you're going to be in your house. Yeah, sorry about that, Bert. It's a scorcher, as they say. Those people who know me know that I'm a big fan of Spike Milligan, and particularly the Goons. Some of his later stuff was a bit kind of racist and stuff, so a problem. But the Goons were absolutely brilliant. And we're talking about the 1950s here. I mean, all the Goons show stuff is on YouTube now, but of course some of it's going to seem dated, you know, like jokes like, did you put the cat out? I didn't know he was on fire, that kind of stuff. And of course, that sounds rather passé now, but we've got to remember that those jokes were new in those times. You know, Milligan was really kind of a groundbreaking comedian, you know, really, really good stuff. And there's one bit where a character in the Goons called Eccles, he says, declares that the day, like this one, is a scorcher. And he's actually sat on a beach, but there's lots of snow all around him. And so another character, Neddy Seagoon, is saying this is a scorcher, and the way that Eccles makes it a scorcher is by having a thermometer in a hot water bottle to keep the temperature high. And then he claims that snow is on holiday too. So that's the kind of wacky world of Spike Milligan, which was absolutely brilliant stuff. Okay, so let's think about Vegan Information Day. So this is Frankie. Hello, Frankie. Well, Frankie will be coming into the house later because that's where he stays the night nowadays, but he's enjoying the sun, aren't you, Frankie? And these are the little cocks and hens, and these here are the racing pigeons. And I'll put a... Oops, I think I've scared them all. Sorry about that, guys. And girls. Gals. I'll put a link. I'll put a link into a film or two when we actually rescued these birds and brought them back. Yeah, so there was 3 women came up to Vegan Information Day, and they hailed from Chicago in the States, and I think one was vegan already. I think the other 2 might have been vegetarian, it's hard to remember now. And one of the vegetarian ones asked about the calf weaner that we have. It's a metal weaner, which, you know, an anti-suckling device which goes on the calf's nose with the spikes. This one's got spikes. It's actually, you know, you'll probably be familiar with the yellow plastic ones. You've probably seen them around. but this is a metal one. It's really horrible, and it's so ironic really, because you know, as always, the Irish farmers say that they've got the best welfare standard in the world, and just like the English farmers and everyone else, you know, the French farmers and the North American farmers, whatever. And yet the worst one of these anti-suckler devices we've found comes from Ireland. Hello, here we go. Say hello. Yeah, and so I kind of was explaining what this thing was used for, and you know, poor woman started to cry, so I felt a bit bad. But then in the ensuing conversation, we mentioned that we have these VR goggles, virtual reality goggles, and she said, "I want to watch that." And I said, "Well, that's probably not a great idea," but she absolutely insisted on watching this goggles, and so she watched the chick one. You know, there's like cows, pigs, and chicks. So absolutely insisted on watching that, and so she watched it, and she was in floods of tears afterwards. And it was the thing. She said, you know, these are the details we don't know. You know, I said, well, yeah, these are the bits that you don't see in the advertisements for sure for animal products. And so there's Neville in the background. Hi, Nev. So she went away vowing to live vegan. So you never know. Chicago may have had at least have now at least one more vegan activist, because she was a feisty person and she was an activist through and through. So good on her, and she was very brave to watch the film, you know, after being upset by just being told about the details of the anti-suckler. So yeah, another vegan, hopefully. Yay. Right, so here we are in one of the very big sheds at the sanctuary, and these are the songbirds, and I helped to make these two aviaries. They were kept in oh yeah, see these little these were the places that they were kept from the place that we rescued the birds from, and so these aviaries are a kind of, you know, heaven for them really, because much bigger obviously. And I don't know if you can see them flying around in there. Hello guys. There you go. So I was left a few notes. These are they, and there is 9, 12 12 sets of instructions. Well, I suppose that's pretty good, considering we talk about 400 animals. You know, animal sanctuary people, they work hard, you know, folks. They work hard. Yeah, so 2 feminist activists visited Vegan Information Day. They were really great and really kind of active in lots of things. They were frustrated, like we all are often, about the, you know, the time it takes for social change to come about, and they agreed obviously that we're not in a revolutionary stage or even a pre-revolutionary stage. But then they one came back and said that she remembers how 5 years ago, because she'd seen some carriage horses which are unfortunately on the outskirts of Temple Bar in Dublin, she'd seen them and she was very angry about it. But she said that 5 years ago she would have been, oh, you know, those lovely horses, and maybe even paid to have gone in them. So, you know, have a ride, as it were, in the carriage. So she was saying, well, you know, that goes to show that, you know, change is happening. And I said, you know, the usual kind of thing really, you know, for someone who's been vegan for over 40 years now, around about 40 years, you can get a long-term view of things, you know. And I know that for new people, when I was a new vegan, I wanted everything to happen yesterday, you know. I know that, I understand that. But, you know, once you've been in this for a long time, you do realize that change is happening. You know, I always remember, you know, I mean, Ronnie Lee talks about the changes that he's seen in the vegan movement. He went vegan in 1971, maybe 72, and he's seen absolutely massive changes in the animal movement. and in the vegan movement, you know, and it does sometimes take this kind of long-term kind of view of things, you know. And I know, again, you know, I do know that the activists are gonna not be, you know, happy with that in a way, because they want everything to happen now. I understand that. I was exactly the same, but you know, hang in there, carry on working, and we're getting there. We're really moving now. You know, we're really climbing a hill. You know, so let's hope it's a hill to veganism proper. So keep at it, folks. Yes, some geese. Hello, gooses. They're looking at me thinking, why are you disturbing the peace here, mate? Back off. Go on. I think I'll leave them in pieces. Ah, another goose. With a very lazy way of drinking water, I'd say. What do you think? As you'd expect in an animal sanctuary, there's, you know, quite often there are sick animals. Now, this is a bit of a hospital area, and yeah, and this chap is getting better, aren't you? Yeah, nothing wrong with your crow anyway, is there? That's great. You can do that again. Go on in. One more time. I'm not a performing animal. Ah, yeah. Yes, you are. Show off. So here I am with Barry Boy. Oh, Baz. Say hello. Barry! Both enjoying the sun, back into daylight, animal sanctuary, and yeah, this lifelong vegetarian came up yesterday and was saying about, you know, it's kind of, you know, usual thing about, you know, I regret the number of years that I was vegetarian, and I think she said that she'd just gone vegan about, I think 4 months ago, something like that. And that reminded me of a guy came up the previous week, and look at that, Barry fighting with me. Come on, Baz, you fighting? Yay! Hey, look at that big belly. Look at that big belly. So you can talk, mate. That's true, that. Yeah, so there was what was it? 79-year-old vegetarian, been a vegetarian for life. He was quite funny because he said that when he first went vegetarian, or in the early years of being a vegetarian, rather, he said that a lot of people said, look, you know, if you stick with this, you're going to die. He said all the people who said I was going to die are dead now, which was quite good. And interestingly, this guy had a 16-year-old vegan daughter. And it was really interesting that, you know, because like, there is a generational difference now, you know, that people don't, it was very common, you know, even in terms of movement claims making, for us to say, you know, go vegetarian first, you know, this kind of stuff. It tends not to happen now. We tend to say be as vegan as possible, which is really a good way of presenting veganism, you know, because vegetarianism, I mean, I never went through a vegetarian phase myself, I never saw the logic of it, you know, couldn't make it out as being you know, a rational thing to do. And I think it's great now that we don't really promote vegetarianism. I mean, the vegetarian societies of the world hardly promote vegetarianism anymore. I think most of them are run by vegans, and most of their events seem to be vegan. Most of their recipes seem to be vegan. You know, vegetarianism, rightly so, seems now to be rather a dead thing. And I think that's a good thing, because, you know, vegetarianism from a vegan point of view is just another type of animal use, and animal use is a rights violation, and that is wrong. So somewhere here is a cockerel who is having a dispute with some geese who have been brought here for his own safety. Can't see him. Must be around now. These are the fancy pigeons. So these are a different type. Ah, there you go. In your little shed, eh? I won't disturb you. So these are the fancy pigeons, separate from the racing pigeons. So these are often called tumblers. If you can notice, maybe on a couple, they've got this weird kind of feathering on their feet. So, Oh yeah, there's a fancy one there, look. That's good. Have a poo on the camera, go on. Yeah. Back into daylight is a little bit like a museum of farming equipment. Dumpster truck. I can hear some quacking. So these are real characters of the sanctuary. Hello there. Try not to disturb them. Just going to try and get you on film for a second. That's alright. There you are. There we go. You're not having it, are you? So anyway, 3 duckies in there. Oh, there they are. Sorry, didn't mean to disturb you. I think I'm doing a shite job at this. Over here is Arthur, who is a really big, very powerful, very strong wild or boar. So, and he's in his little shed. It's so hot he doesn't want to come out. He pushes his way in and out. So afraid you won't be able to see Arthur on this occasion, but he's definitely in there. There's some of the doggies. Doggy. Bella. And that's Scooby. Stop breathing, Scoob. And there's Husky. Yeah, wag your tail, aren't you? Yeah. Come on then, gang. Here's Tidge Ridge. Hello, Tidge. You want to say hello? What are you doing? There's Tidge. So coming out of the sun. Well, there should be Ella somewhere. Ah, there's Ella. Hello, Ella. Ella's got such a sweet personality, hasn't she? Yes, you have. Yeah. Yeah. You're a sweetie, aren't you? Oh, there's Barry waking up. Hello, Baz. How you doing, mate? Yeah, one of the 40 odd cats in the sanctuary. I don't know this one's name, but finding some shade, which is a good move in this weather. You know, it's quite hard running a sanctuary. You know, the people running these places, and I've known people running sanctuaries since the 1980s. Used to help out at Freshfield Animal Rescue in Liverpool when it was kind of very small and limited in those days. But you know, you do get quite a lot of the animal residents who get sick and die, or just die of old age. You know. There is an interesting story actually about an ALF rescued piglet that the activists in their wit called Rasher. And Rasher eventually, when he was older, became ill, and so they called an agricultural vet in, and the guy said, "I'm sorry, I don't know what's wrong with this pig." And the activist said, "Why?" He said, "Well, I've never seen one this old before." So there you are. You see, the vets in the ag industry are there to help the exploitation, you know, and in those ruthless businesses, you know, pigs, dairy, cows, you know, broilers, all that. If you get sick, you get dead. There's no time for much medicine in those kind of systems. It's all pretty shocking stuff. Now here's Louis and companions. There we are. You enjoying the sun, Louis? Catch you later, mate. See you again next time, folks, and I hope you enjoyed the sight of all the agadimals, and this is actually a really nice place to do a vlog. So yeah, thanks for watching, and catch you again. Bye for now.